And we're back. I believe so. Yes, there's voice going out to the everything. Hooray! Okay. Post Cyclone Alfred here in Australia. Um, so we had a cyclone here in Brisbane. So we've had a few little interruptions, you could say. Um, and it was just more a case of wanting to make sure. I'll switch that back on. There should be some game audio that will come through when I do. Kabang. And there we go. Nice little bit of tinkling audio in the background. Yeah, so we had Cyclone Alfred come through Brisbane, and it was a whole lot of fucking nothing. Well, no, sorry. It was a whole lot of nothing for me. I am on the north side of Brisbane, and the south side of Brisbane got absolutely fucked. Fucked to a level that you would honestly go, Jesus Christ, you know, like people passed away in floodwaters because they tried to cross flooded areas. They got out of their vehicles. They were, you know, they didn't heed any warnings. So it, you know, it really does. It does kind of make you stop and go, you know, Jesus, even something that didn't really hit that hard or hit that many people. We lost power from, I think, Saturday night through to about 2 or 3 p.m. on Sunday. And it was uncomfortably warm in the house. The house we're in is 2 stories, and it, even with all of the wind and rain that was happening, it caused a lot of interruption to not really have. There was gales, there was wind from a cyclone, but it wasn't kind of flowing through the house. So the house just got really fucking warm. The dogs got really warm. We got really warm, and it was just one of those sucky things. So, but away from that, it, you know, we are safe, we are well. You know, everyone we know is safe and sound, which is great. And it was just a major interruption. I knew during the cyclone that the likelihood was that we were going to lose power, lose internet, and everything else. So I, you know, did the stream, I think Tuesday of last week. And when I finished that out, it was a case of, I'm not going to promise to do a stream this week because I wasn't certain if there would be power. We didn't know if it would be one of those sorts of cyclones or storms that you get that just knocks everything out. But luckily, about most of a day interruption to power, and with power, of course, internet, and there is more rain on the roof. I could hear it coming through the microphone. So that was not what I was expecting. But, you know, ultimately all in good. I'm just glad to be back, and it's been interesting. Let's say that. It has been very interesting. Now, I am going to play some Monster Hunter Wilds, because I have finished the main story campaign, as it were. There's kind of like, in a sense, you would say that there's 2 campaigns. One which is kind of the story mainline stuff, and then there's the kind of the extension of that campaign that continues on into the end game content, like what you tend to know for if you are a Monster Hunter player, uh, hunting monsters, collecting materials, getting the really good armor, the good weapons, grinding things up. So there's kind of two elements to that, and to a degree, I've gotten all the way to there. So I'll hold off on talking about that for now. But there was something I was going to bring up. I'm going to mute that. And let's see if I can find this, because there's a few things to talk about when it comes to how things are for content, like stuff that's been talked about. So in a sense, throughout last week, there was one thing that I felt was very interesting was Death Stranding 2 being announced. A 10-minute, like, give him all the credit in the world, whether you like his games or not, a 10-minute trailer to really show your game, give people an idea of story elements, of the way you're going to talk through the game, how you're going to experience it. Only Kojima, only Hideo Kojima could pull something like that and have it be quite well managed, but at the same time, very solid in a way that makes you go, "Oh wow, this, he's really pushed forward." All of the, oh great, just gotten rid of the rain, and then as soon as I start streaming, more rain on the roof. Just my luck. With Death Stranding 2, a lot of people talked about the actor, Luis. I cannot pronounce his last name because I haven't heard it spoken to what I know is a correct pronunciation. So I'm not going to try and butcher it here. But it's interesting to a degree that people are talking about, oh, this is the guy that he wanted to play Solid Snake, or oh, this is the person that he was going to bring into some of his games and everything. I respect that. It's interesting. It's very cool. But to any degree, I feel it almost looks like he is trying to put him into the role that he had Mads Mikkelsen in the first game, where he's somebody you're going to discover and understand further as the game continues. Although it seems to have the kind of implication of he's not a good person, or he's a good person who's kind of forced into doing bad things because of bridges or people associated. There's always going to be multiple sides to this. Never take anything at a face value point for a Hideo Kojima game, because there's always going to be some convoluted bullshit. But one, looks amazing. And two, the only thing if you know in chat, if you're watching this in VOD, or if you come in live later and you know the answer, please let me know. It was announced, the trailer was shown on the Kojima Productions YouTube channel, and it was shown on the PlayStation channel, but I cannot find for the life of me anything that states that it is a PlayStation exclusive, even though it seems to have been funded by Sony Interactive Entertainment, that they've funded the game. However, the IP rights for the game went back to Kojima Productions. So he owns the IP. So thereby he would be able to make the decision about where the IP goes. However, the publishing agreement could be something completely different. not seeing a PlayStation 5 exclusive or anything like that show up is one of the first things that kind of jumped out to me about it, because I was expecting at the end like the play it only on PlayStation 5. I was expecting that as the splash screen at the end of the video itself, but it showed like, hey, pre-order it and get it on PlayStation, but not the dialogue I'm used to, which is play it only on PlayStation or PlayStation 5 exclusive with the flash screen that says, you know, exclusivity, exclusive until X date, usually like a period of 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, whatever the case may be. So it does make me wonder a little bit, is it a case of this could be one of the first games that has a very short exclusivity period, where I think it was Rand and Jez today talking on Xbox 2 Ultimate. So if you're not a Patreon member of the Xbox 2 podcast, go become one and listen to the Ultimate episodes, because honestly, I love the standard podcast, but the Ultimate episodes are a lot more interesting, a lot more kind of free-flowing, because while it's talking about topics that are relevant in news, it's also a lot more relaxed. It's a lot more back and forth. And I love that with those guys. They have a really good dynamic of working with an audience. That's actually what I base this on. This is about the dynamic of how Rand and Jez talk with the audience on Ultimate episodes. That's why I'm doing this, because that's the sort of thing I like. And when you find something you like and no one's doing it for you, then do it yourself. So it's their fault. But if somebody out there does know, if it has come up and I haven't seen it, please let me know. And I'm just getting my drink everywhere. There was also the kind of discussion, like all props to Destin Legary. I watched the video that he did earlier this week on the, I don't want to get it wrong. I believe he placed it as opinion. Xbox buying Activision was pointless. Now, I don't agree with him, but his point of view, like everybody's opinion is valid. Like my thing is always a case of everyone's opinion is valid because it is their opinion and they pull it together. So while I talk on this point, I transition and keep hunting some monsters, because that's what I need to do. However, let's have a look at the amount of hours I have spent in this game. I am at 80.5 hours. And the game came out, I think, was it not last Friday? It was Friday before, I think. So I've put some serious fucking hours into this game. So we will talk on my thoughts on the game later, but I'm going to put it into the intent and execution style of talk about it, because I think this is actually one of those ones where that I think is probably the best way to look at this game. So I have just been doing online single player, not because I'm antisocial, but because I am antisocial. And people tend to yell at me online. I don't know why. I think I have a very relaxing voice. Actually, no, sorry. Irritating voice. That's what I meant to say. But, login stuff. I actually like the idea of the little login bonuses, but they never really give you anything fantastic. It's always kind of like some, oh, new quest. All right. Let's have a look at this. We have tongue-tied, 5-star. All right. These quests. Let's see. Oh yeah, and I've made sure that the cats just stay meowing because limited bounties. 5 quests rank 1 star or higher. 3 in basin. Fanged beast monsters? What do you consider a fanged beast? 3 tempered. Okay, tempered monsters, they're pretty easy once you kind of get towards like consider it I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. Kind of like your standard level of gear, and then there's a higher tier. So once you get into the higher tier of gear, tends to be like you can tackle a tempered enemy, but it's also something where you kind of build up into it. Let's find event quest. All right, so tongue-tied. Tempered. Oh, cool. Okay, here's a perfect thing. Tempered. So this is the other event quest. So one of the elements is that instead of just having it be the simple kind of back and forth element of here's an enemy at 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star in difficulty all the way up. Some of it is being able to create more resilient and tougher earlier enemies that bring up the difficulty of the fight more in kind of less of an attrition, but more of a targeted attacking, which is something they're trying to teach you in the game to actively work on. So what, like for anybody, if you were here for previous stream, you saw me fight a few of the monsters. They are monsters, they do their thing, and you just smack them around until they fall over, or you trap them, or you silence them in, through either tranquilizing them or putting them down permanently. Tempered, however, is just a case of a enemy with a more resilient damage, more resilient to damage, but more targeted damage on the scars on their body. Let's make sure we got everything here. I don't have any potions. Oh, I remember what happened. Last night I took on a tempered creature. I cannot remember what it was, but it was an absolute motherfucker of a fight. I think I was... Holy shit, I have no pitfall traps? None. Jesus. That fight last night must have absolutely wiped out everything that I had. All right. So we got some of those. I am a very methodical player when it comes to these style of games. I have a particular element, which is I always go with a shock trap, a pitfall trap, full run of trank bombs, plus generally adamant and might pills, max potions, mega standard potions, plus all the rations. When you've played... Well, actually, I learned this more through Monster Hunter World, I think it was. Yeah, we'll take those. What I learned through playing Monster Hunter World was if you didn't have that sort of stuff on hand or easily accessible, oh, we got 15 minutes. Yeah, we got 15 minutes worth of food. If you didn't have those sorts of things on hand, then it would cause you'd find, oh shit, I don't have X or Y or Z. God help me. So you would end up kind of like suffering to a degree and not being able to get particular elements for hunting material. So for some monsters, you will get... Oh, here we go. Here he is. There we go, boy. Okay, so on this boy, you can see these white sections here, which are scars. And if you keep attacking those scars, you'll actually get a... instead of the kind of red wound patterns that you now get on enemies, which are a lot more noticeable in this game, what you will get instead is a blue wounds pattern. And those blue wounds patterns then give you particular materials that are used for making artisan weapons. So while you can make generally higher grade weapons from, you know, like you defeat tougher enemies all the way up in... There we go. All right, so we need to... Hey, give me your butt. And there we go. So tempered wound destroyed. And then there is... These things drop off. So then whenever you destroy any of the tempered spots, like these blue spots, or the... Oh yeah, I changed from I changed from the charge axe to just a simple sword and shield, and I find it works so much better for me. Primarily because I'm not ending up mushed underneath a whole bunch of enemies. Maybe I'm just a bit of a bitch when it comes to playing Monster Hunter, but I tend to prefer kind of a better safe than sorry sort of gameplay style for Monster Hunter. And also I just like bashing into these guys and throwing them around as if there's no real problem. Give me your hand and bush. All right. With the scars as well for these white areas, when you start breaking them off, they will also give you the each one of them will break off and give you a particular artisan material, which you then use to create all of the artisan weapons. That is the only way that you're getting them, is off tempered enemies, and only for breaking those sections. So it's not too bad. I asked a friend who's played a lot more Monster Hunter than me, and he's kind of described that a lot of the time in the past they've done particular things for, oh, okay, this is how you get these particular weapons. I've always branched it up and made it so that there's a grinding element. So it's never just a simple, oh, I think he said the last time that he remembers it just being like a simple grind straight up for difficulty was, I think it was Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. He said that one was really tough for, just in a sense of, it was a very standard sort of game. You just had to keep fighting harder and harder monsters, but it'd always give you just enough that if you grinded up, or if you ground, I'm not sure what the particular terminology for it would be, grinded or ground up. If you ground up enough enemies, if you got the sort of materials that would help you create half the higher end pieces of gear to be able to survive, like you'd have to target... Whoop, there we go. Then you would generally be okay. Whereas this, I think, has a lot more... like, I think I talked about it Tuesday last week. I think... like, I've chatted a bit with Jez about Monster Hunter, and I think he's right in that it is definitely a lot easier. And it is more targeted towards being easy. A challenge will come in time. I think he's definitely right on that. And in kind of like in passing conversation with Jesse about his review, I can very much see how, like, what he was saying is just a very key way of making, making people understand that no, it's not that the game is easier, thereby it's bad, but it's that the game could have had some of this challenge too. Could have had some challenge or further tougher monsters, maybe. Not even like special monsters, but just some tougher fights in its standard campaign without it becoming a problem for new players. Like, it would have been a good compromise between, like, if you're bringing new players in, you also want to give them a sense of feeling like that they've achieved something. Because if somebody's starting this for the first time and fans of the game are going, oh, you've played that and you've gotten to the end, but this game is so much easier than the previous ones, you haven't fought a Rathalos at 8 stars or something. You should have that available in the game as a challenge, even if it is outside the realms of what a brand new player or somebody who's just getting into Monster Hunter for the first time. You want to put a kind of aspirational goal that makes the fans happy, but also keeps the kind of the faithful hardcore on board. And I'm surprised that they didn't, because I could see it very much being an easy way of them doing it. And now we're trapping this boy. And poof, there we go. Another hunt done. So I am incredibly high level when it comes to what this was kind of set for. It was set for a hunter at around hunter rank 21. I think I'm in my 50s. I think. Let's find out. Cool. And Centaur the box, appraisal, Jules, another side of the thing. That's not bad. I don't mind that. And guild points, hunter. I'm at 58. So yeah, I am way over level for what this thing is. But I'm actually finding that learning the fights and being able to spend a bit of time in tackling these things how I want to, as opposed to having a kind of very set schedule. Like, there's no real quests anymore in the game per se, but there's now things like you kind of look at things and go, oh, okay, I have a wish list. I want to make this item, so I've put it on the wish list. Now, any monsters that drop those items, so Rathalos, Scale, Wing, Ruby, all of that, when it comes to looking at the environmental overviews or the world overview, if I go somewhere and it has, let's have a look. So Tempered Rathalos and the Rathalos there, they're both at strength 5, strength 6. If I were to take on one of them, so, no, yeah, no, screw it. Let's just go there. What will happen is that it will show exactly those items, those monsters are there, those items are there, and I can just hunt them directly and get the stuff, which is great, because I like having it kind of pull in on itself and go, okay, let's make this easy for people to understand. So, Tempered Rathalos, then when you look at the creature itself, oh, that's right, I haven't fought one of them yet. So there should be a standard Rathalos here, which I have fought. So, nope, it does not want to. I'm sure I've hunted a Rathalos because I've gotten like pieces of gear. Okay. When you go here, then when you look at quest rewards, it's actually highlighting, okay, these are things that are going to drop from this creature. These are things you need for that specific thing you want to craft. So it makes it easy to kind of like pull that together and go, okay, I want to tackle this. So I'm going to tackle this. I figure if, yeah, screw it. We got a full run of things, and I've got a sword and shield. I am probably going to get my ass handed to me by this thing, because if I haven't killed one, then it's either been a fight where they have beaten the living piss out of me. And trust me, yes, this is easier than previous Monster Hunter games. However, it does not mean that, oh shit, there's quite a couple of them here. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to win this fight. Oh, Jesus. This is going to be a terrible time. Okay. I may have made a terrible mistake, but you know what? I'm just going to try. I am just very much going to try. I don't know why there is 3 of them here. I know that somebody said you can use the dung pods to push. Okay, let's get out of here and see if we can find. Okay. There is something I have learnt that you can use the pods. There's particular large dung pods that you can use to drive off other monsters if you've got too many of them in one location. I learnt that in another fight. Where is my there it is. I would lose my ass if it wasn't attached to me. Okay. So, transfer items. Let's have a look. Large dung pods. And normal dung pods. And some flash pods, just for good measure. Bring the kitchen sink with you is one of the recommendations that I can make. Like, if you're going out to hunt monsters in this game, don't just kind of go out there and go, oh, I'm also going to grab all of these materials and bits and pieces. If you're going to grab materials, head out there and grab materials. And if you come across a monster that you're like, I want to fuck that up, then fantastic. But it can be good to kind of focus a little on what you want to do. All right, so there's that boy. You get out of here. And you get out of here. Get. Oh, shit. Okay, I may have driven off the one that I actually wanted to hold on to. Smart move, Scarecrow. All right. Let's just go and see if we can find him. I have had some monsters just absolutely bugger off on me and just be like, oh, you wanted to fight me? Cool. I'm just gonna fuck off over here and you will never see me again. And I've kind of gone, oh, well, shit, but I was hunting you properly. And I've had even a few monsters, a few timeouts, which I remember happening a lot with one of the Monster Hunters that I played on the 3DS. I think it was Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. And that actually kind of irritated me more back then, because it almost felt like the game was very hard to feel comfortable playing. But that's also because I have I had just a general issue with playing games on the 3DS. I don't know how people really got into these games on a 3DS, because it almost felt insane about how to actually play them on that system, because it was just so small and dainty. But then I suppose I've got sheet metal hands, so my hands aren't the smallest, but they're also not massive. But for some reason, it was just, oh shit, nope, dead. And this might be why I haven't fought a Rathalos yet, because it may have handed my ass to me. And the Nickelodeon Slime Club decides to join just to rub it in my face. And all right, the one thing I will say is that I know a lot of people were annoyed or are annoyed by the Secret Uber, which is what's happening right now. We are going by Uber to the location. I am a fan of this, but it's because I know what I'm doing and where I'm going, and I'm trying not to be screwed around with. And yeah, it's just having it, like, I can understand, I think it was, quite a few people had mentioned having it kind of reduce the necessary element of actually hunting monsters, that you'd almost just find something and then that would be it. You just, boop, off you go. No need to actually investigate or find them. I can understand people being annoyed by that. It definitely does reduce a few of the headaches. It almost makes me feel like if you played, I think it was Assassin's Creed or even rarer, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. There was the unguided mode for the game, where it would actually remove a lot of the HUD maps and elements, so that you could actually engage with, like, going, oh, I need to investigate, I need to work out where this place is. They're not giving it to me just on a map overhead. The quest givers would actually give you information about where you need to go, not the exact place you need to go. Because they'd go, oh, I know that they've set up that base in a place with with this specific equipment. I believe it's over here by this mountain. So then you would look for that mountain or look for a base near that location, and it would give you you'd find it and then be like, oh, okay, cool. This has actually taken me some time to do, as opposed to have it just be follow the quest marker, a la, Oblivion or Skyrim style exploration. Which I'm all for. There's some times where you don't want to do a Morrowind. You don't want to have you don't want to be basically dealing with a large scale text journal to be able to work out where it is you need to go and what you need to do. Yeah, fuck you. I think if there's anything, it'd be interesting if they had a title update where they changed some of that to basically go, oh, okay, we're introducing back a bit of effort into the monster hunts. Instead of giving it to you on the map, they instead go, oh, you can't find it on the map. You have to look for, like, some of the monsters actually, I think it's in the previous games. I'm not sure. I think it was in World, but then again, I don't know if it's in World and not in Rise. as I've said, I'm still very new to all of this. So I'm not sure what they've done when and where or why. Give me your chin. But there, I think it was in Wilds, you would find the materials from monsters and indications of, oh, this monster has been in this location and it's left behind this sign of it, so you know that this is its hunting ground or this is its feeding ground. So you'd know, oh, okay, this monster is in this area or it is active here. This is the one that we're looking for. People said it was a winged monster, so that now tells us, oh, okay, it's one of these, like, it's a Rathalos, it's a this, it's a that. It would be very cool if they changed that in a system update or a title update to kind of go, hey, here's a return to what you're familiar with for fans of, long-time fans of the game. And it's actually one of the aspects that I think a lot of games need to start considering about how to support games past past the, how would you put it? Past the idea of live service as a continuous updated element, much like the live service that I consider games like State of Decay to be, which is they are live service in that they continue to add content to the game to help kind of keep the audience there and go, hey, here's some new stuff. It's not just about what we delivered to you for $70, $100, whatever it may be. It's about, well, we have a plan for this game over many years, and this is how we're doing it. And being willing to change how a game is to also have your audience feel like, oh, okay, there is more to it, where, oh, okay, we are going to need that. I've got my ass smacked around enough that... Or do I need to rest? Actually, that's one thing I need to ask someone. Do these games, do you actually need to kind of like rest at particular points to gain back stamina and max health if it's... Or is it just a case of it gets beaten down over time and you need to restore it? Oh, no, wait, it would have been the meal. The meal finishing. Give me your tail. I'm sure your tail has plenty of materials in it. Oh, Jesus. Some of these poor little bugs are getting absolutely fucked up by this dragon. Poor guys. Okay. So that is the Rathalos dead. Carve it up. I would be very interested to see if, yeah, if there's potentially the idea of, okay, we are going to put a different style of gameplay in here for the future. But, okay, I've kind of played a bit and everything else. Let us talk about the game itself. So, when it comes to... Oh. I got... completed 100 quests with your Palico deployed. Hooray! I got another achievement as well. Different large monsters. So, that's another 2 achievements. Excellent. So that brings me up to 425 1,000. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. That's a good day. That is a very good. So, what I would say on Monster Hunter, I think the game is good, and when it comes down to it, I think I've spoken about this before, so I'm going to get into it. Intent and execution. So I can talk about how the game looks, how it plays, all of these different elements, uh, and I'll just be very quick on it. I'll just be really quick and easy on it. The game looks fantastic. It is very nice in its design. A lot of the criticisms that people brought up when it comes to some lower quality textures coming in here and there. Yes, I've seen that. Some of the frame rate hitching when it comes to rather busy or uh, very graphically intensive areas. Yeah, there's been some slowdown and bits and pieces, but nothing that's ever broken the experience. It's kind of like, oh Jesus, like you look at it and go, oh yeah, I can understand that because there's fucking particle effects everywhere. Um, it it makes you kind of go, oh wow, they've really pushed this. They've wanted to kind of deliver more and more, and it feels like they delivered a lot when it comes to the quality of animations and some of the external areas, but then have scaled back in some areas, such as smaller detailed items and things for NPCs, where you wouldn't really think it would be that important. But then if you start talking to characters, it's right there in your face when you're conversing with them. So you notice those small little cutbacks, but by no means a bad thing. It's just one of those things you notice where the quality of one thing doesn't match with everything else. Nothing that you would take points away from. You just go, okay, you know, hopefully they fix that or hopefully they change that, but it's not a deal breaker. Nor do I feel that it should be. Then when you talk about the audio in the game is still fantastic. The soundtrack is very familiar in a sense of the same sort of battle themes and music. It gives you the same kind of pump up when it comes to fighting monsters. Sound design, the sound cues are still great, where it's an instantly noticeable thing. You know when you've gotten a perfect guard. You know when you've drunk a potion, or this effect pops, or these things. It does very good with audio cues, which I find a fantastic element because I use audio a lot more when it comes to cues than just visual, because things can get noisy. When you're in the middle of a battle, it's easy to know that something has activated based on a sound cue than it is to look for a visual representation when it comes to you've got a giant fucking dragon in your face and you're paying attention to parrying and dodging. That can be a very hard thing to kind of match up with. So sound, fantastic, great cues, continuing the music themes, I like that. Um, Graphics, really great, some slowdown, but nothing that really breaks the experience. I will give points for the 120 hertz and 40 hertz, 120 hertz mode, and the 40 FPS balanced mode. Um, that has actually been how I've been playing the game on here. The stream capture would have been at it's coming in like the capture's at 1440p 120 FPS, but the capture's pulling it down to 60 FPS. So there might be some differences for it, but the source coming in, it should hopefully be balancing out. If not, then that's terrible, and I'm sorry. um, so away from that, yeah, looking at it, I unfortunately cannot tell whether it did it well or not so well. You know, kind of is what it is. I should probably just grab some 60 FPS performance mode and some of the 30 FPS, high quality mode. Those two modes I did try. While a lot of people said that the balance mode or the performance mode looked very blurry, you lose a lot of detail. Yeah, I suppose I do love my pretty graphics, but I found that it was serviceable, but I found that the balance mode kind of just worked better for me. I tend to like the balance mode in games. 40 FPS with a little bit better quality um, works well for me, so I'm always happy to see it come in. Um, so for all of those performance modes and everything else, it runs great on the Series X. I found that even with some of the slowdown in bigger battles or bits and pieces like that, um, nothing that has made me go, oh, maybe I should have gotten this on PC. Um, we have the Beast PC here, so at some point we could actually try it on there and do a comparison, but I'm not seeing enough there that would make me go, oh yeah, have to see this with like full ray tracing, global illumination, all that sort of shit. It just doesn't really interest me. Um, so then when it comes to comparing it to previous Monster Hunter games, this has a very different intent than other Monster Hunter games. And I think this is where possibly some reviews, which were very heaping on a lot of praise, are from people who are fans of Monster Hunter and go, oh, wow, this is more Monster Hunter. I'm fantastic at this game. I feel great. I feel powerful. But the intent isn't really for having the Monster Hunter faithful be, they should be finding the things. I think the kind of hope was that they would see the things that they already know and they're really good at. So they just go with, well, I'm fantastic at this. And people are going to love this because it's more Monster Hunter and it's amazing and they're better tutorialized. I think the intent was for this to be an everything familiar with Monster Hunter. The same weapons, the same styles of enemies, the same quality of animation, the less transition zones, just big open world, being able to just go wherever the hell you want, breaking down those final barriers that they had from the previous Monster Hunter games. You know, from if anybody has played any of the earlier ones on 3DS, and all of the others, it was always sectioned off areas. Like everywhere on the map was a numbered area, and that was where you would go into. You would crawl through a loading area, a la Tomb Raider or something. Having this be open is fantastic. It's a great addition to the game. It's finally opening it up. And with that, I feel that they've taken these steps to bring the game down in its difficulty to create a lower bar of entry for people to not just play the game, but to get far enough into it that they progress past that first couple of hours. That, oh yeah, this is kind of fun, but then you have to then start hunting particular monsters to get gear to be able to take on the next level of challenge. They instead built this flattened curve in the game, which allows people to not have to upgrade or grind monsters to be able to bring their gear up to a level to be able to fight the next level of monster in the story, and then up this stair-stepped experience. They've instead smoothed it to a ramp that creates a better flow through. And I've even found that for myself. This has been the first Monster Hunter game that I have actually finished in terms of a story. I've spent a decent chunk of hours in Monster Hunter Worlds, but because of the element of having to stair step my way up the experience of get to this level, oh, this enemy is just too tough. I cannot beat him. I need more survivability. I need better armor. I need better weapons. So then having to go back and grind some of the tougher enemies that I've fought previously and succeeded against to then get the materials to be able to create the better armor and the better weapon to take on the next level of monster, and then have a set of, say, 2 or 3 monsters that then become the next 3 monsters that I grind to get their gear to be able to go up into the next level, and so on and so forth. Instead, the story has a very kind of gradual build up and flow to it that with the monsters that you're fighting throughout the story, you're collecting enough loot and enough materials off them to be able to have that curve smoothed off, that you're going to have enough materials to be able to make what you need next, whether it's a weapon or whether it's changes in your armor, that you can just continue on with the story. You don't have to stop and grind. I can see why some people felt that it then meant that for those who were experienced in these style of games, that they were able to just roll through. They didn't really have a need to stop and grind or build out or level themselves to be able to take on the next challenge because they had skill. And a game where skill is more key than the equipment that you have is a very I don't wish to denigrate the game or to speak down on it, but it is almost very much like Sekiro. You don't really improve your sword or your armor. It is just your skills and ability with it that determine your level of success. And with that, that is a harder thing to kind of manage, that you can have the game still play well for the people who are used to that level of gameplay, while still bringing it down low enough that people can feel that they can get the easy on ramp onto it. And then I think it's about not just getting people into the game to play, but getting them past the first 5 hours, getting them past the first couple of major boss style enemies that they're going to face. So your Chotacabras and the first kind of 3 monsters that you fight in the plains in kind of investigations and everything, getting past those enemies, and then the next level of challenge going, oh, now we're going to tutorialize you about weapons. Now you can upgrade, like you've used these weapons, now upgrade some of them using the material you've already gotten. Same with your armor. But giving you enough that then what you have there gives you enough to be able to go into the next level of challenge without you having to stop and grind out. Because if you go, hey, you're having fun, aren't you? You want to fight the next monster. Now you've got to spend the next 2-3 hours fighting three or more of this thing so that you can get enough pieces to be able to make up this armor to take on the next challenge. The moment that you do that, you are saying you haven't done enough to be able to go have more fun. The moment that you put a not a skill challenge, but a time or grind challenge for somebody to progress a story, to progress the very thing they're there to do, which is to play through the story, to have an experience, and to build an appreciation and a love of the game. The moment that you place that barrier in front, you're stopping the early players, the newer players, from being able to really feel like they can get into it and flow with it. So intent for the game, I can see exactly what they're going for. And I think for intent, it is very clear. Hey, Monkey versus Tramps. Good morning. Good morning, sir. You have just appeared, and I am basically ranting like a lunatic about intent and execution for Monster Hunter Wilds. I hope you're having a great morning. I'm having a good evening, somewhat good evening. We survived the cyclone, so everything is good. So for that big ramble, that was intent. So the intent is for this game to be a better and smoother learning curve for new players into Monster Hunter without losing them after a few hours and going, you need to grind to progress. Removing that, smoothing out, creating a ramp as opposed to the stair step that generally they had previous in the challenge of the game. And execution, I think that they've executed exactly what they wanted, but in their execution, they haven't also put enough in to be able to create the higher level challenge for the experienced players to feel that it has the very thing that they are used to. Monster Hunter fans love a fucking hard fight. They get off on being bashed around by a city-sized dragon. And who doesn't? Um, Not having that there, the execution I feel for what their intent is great. However, the execution's failed in creating something that allows the experienced Monster Hunter players to feel like they are being fed well. Like they like what they're playing, but they're not getting enough of what they want, which is a really tough challenge, an experience, a new level, a new rarity, something that they can push themselves towards, that they get their mates online and go, okay, be on at 8 o'clock. We need to go beat the living shit out of this thing to try and get enough parts so that I can make this really cool weapon or I can make this armor and then spend the time doing all of the side quests and bits and pieces and other monster hunts and bounties to build up the armor spheres, to upgrade that armor, to get to the next level, so that when the next level of challenge hits, they are prepared for it. And so intent, I can see what they intended. Execution, I think they achieved what they wanted. However, they left behind some of the more hardcore fans. Hardcore fans, I think, are going to be served much better longer term by Capcom and the Monster Hunter team. I can definitely see, especially with how well they're engaging in doing small patches, fixes, everything else, that is top notch, always great. And if Monster Hunter Monster Hunter World, and Monster Hunter Rise are any barometer to measure how well they support the games, this is going to go fantastic. They're going to do great. So I don't give game scores. I talk about intent and execution. So intent, they achieved it. Execution could be a little better, but it is still a very fun game. And if you like your Monster Hunter or you want to try to get into it, this is probably one of the best entry points so far. I would say it's better than Rise, which I've tried to play again and again and again, but it's still a little too in its own weeds. Like, it does explain things to you, but it always kind of rolls along on this idea of, you know what a Monster Hunter game is. And I'm like, no, I fucking don't. Tell me. But that is my own issue when it comes to a lot of established franchises, especially. There are some things about certain games where nobody explains to you some of the minutiae about things. Like in Monster Hunter, affinity. You will be crafting gear and it'll go, oh, this weapon has a 15% affinity, or it has a -5% affinity. And I had to look that up in Google to work out what it is. Affinity is like a application of a critical damage chance, or chance for any elemental effect that you have on your weapon to apply in that hit, per hit. So it can be a critical rate if there's no element. From Monkey vs. Tramps, that's good to hear. I might actually try the new Monster Hunter if you don't need to have prior knowledge. I will say yes, prior knowledge will help, but in a very small manner. It's not a requirement, and they actually do a good job of making sure that a lot of the quests and elements explain each of the steps to you. So when they start giving you, okay, we're going to go and hunt this monster, so we're going to give you these pieces of equipment, we're going to give you these things to use. It does a very good job of giving you tutorialization with one kind of pop-up thing where it stops everything, allows you to read it, and then you close it out, and that's it. But it never gives you too much information. It just goes, okay, here's the thing you need to know about riding your little secret, or the raptor, dinosaur, lizard mounts. It just goes, here's the button to call them. Here's the buttons that you use to kind of get them to go to whatever you've put as a waypoint on your map. You can attack from them, and you can tell them to stop running towards the waypoint, and you can turn them around and do these things. It just gives you that, and then ultimately gives you a little bit of time to play with it before then placing everything on you to go, okay, now I need to lock this knowledge inside my head and go, okay, I now know this and it's never going to be explained again. They do a good job of rolling through with knowledge, also explaining the materials and bits and pieces, what elements do, and also the training area for your weapons is your friend. Try, like Monkey versus Tramps, try many different weapons in the training area. It is one of the things that I wish I did more of before I started playing. I played through with the switchblade, or sorry, the charge blade. So it's a shield and a blade, and it has kind of like, it builds up power in sword mode, and then you can use it as a big axe and smash shit around. Right before the final kind of chapter of the game, I ended up trying just the sword and shield, and I found that was so much easier to use. But sword and shield was one of the things that I never tried. So I tried the lance, the gun lance, the insect pole, the bow, the bow gun, sword, long sword. I tried so many things, but I didn't try the simple sword and shield. And I found that had a really good kind of balance to it. So if you're jumping into it, I would say give yourself, if you're going to jump into it, give yourself probably an hour and a half to 2 hours for that first gameplay session. That'll give you enough time to be able to jump into the game, to play through the kind of opening experience, which was, if you played the demo that they released, it's part of that with, and then continues on. But that'll give you enough time to do that opening experience, hear the story, kind of get your plot points, but then do enough, including your first hunt and a lot of weapon exploration, to be able to then feel, okay, what do I want to use? How do I want to use these things? And it does a good job in explaining a lot of the elements that not many of the other games did in a way that was satisfactory. Also, the training and tip section in the guide is fantastic. It also has really full on even individual move libraries, similar to a fighting game, for combos that you can do with particular weapons. I found that was fantastic. It was a really good way of doing it. And that kind of helped me jump into it. Okay, so that's for that with Monster Hunter. I'm just trying to think. It's actually been kind of quiet here because we had the cyclone and that's passed. But a lot of the video gaming news and everything else has been a bit here and there. Like Jez had his interview with Joanna Faris from Blizzard that posted earlier today, my time. At some other point, I am kind of annoyed. I did ask him to ask Joanna about her music career, but said that wasn't really so, like, did ask her, but wasn't really anything to kind of talk about there. So it's like, damn it. You know, it would have been cool to have an Xbox or ABK or Blizzard rep being able to say, yeah, I tried my hand at being a singer and songwriter. That's pretty cool. And then to end up as the CEO of Blizzard, of all places. But even for that, a lot of the individual news that's come out, I cannot remember which. I believe it was in a few Discords that people were posting that Sony are apparently about to release a $399 PlayStation Slim digital with Astrobot uh, as a bundle, which I think is fantastic. Um, what I do know that is happening in the background is that there was some news that Sony were shipping a whole lot of PlayStations to the US to try and get ahead of tariffs. Now, with some of the tariffs, there's something to understand about how these kind of tariffs and the economic roll-on effects work. Is that if you bring them in before the tariffs apply, then that's no problem. You've gotten them into the country, so you're not paying a tariff on importing these products. So you've landed them in America. Now, what happens from there is they can then sell those products to Americans for the original price and not have any major issues. For Sony to then start going, okay, we are going to sell PlayStation 5 Slims, digital editions, with Astrobot bundled in at $399 US, considering that I think that their price went up a little bit. I'm not certain. Unfortunately, because we have the Australian PlayStation Store here, I haven't been able to find out whether the USD price for the PlayStation 5 Slim has ever increased from the $399. I think it went to $449, but I'm not certain, so I don't say that with any certainty. With that, however, people go, well, if they're going to have a tariff applied to future consoles, why would they not just increase the price and just go, hey, we've got PlayStation 5 Slims, and because of the tariff of 25% on semiconductors, unfortunately, we need to charge this at $479 now. Yes, they could. But right now, I think is one of the very interesting points for where the future of the kind of gaming market is. We know from Jez's reporting that the Project Keegan or Prototype Keegan, the Xbox branded Windows portable device, with that coming forward, the idea being is that especially with multi-platform games, Xbox are now going, okay, we are all in on the multi-platform push. There's some stuff there which I'm not certain. I'm still trying to get my head around some of the ideas. When I've got a more fully formed idea, I think I might just record one of those videos and just put it onto YouTube and see what happens from it. But there is a interesting side to how Sony right now, I think, are potentially kind of pushing ahead. Bringing all of the consoles in before the tariff applies is smart, and that is one of the best moves you can do. If there is going to be a tariff applied, bring as much stock into the country as you can and sell it at your original price. Hold off increasing the price for as long as possible because you want customers to buy your product. If your product if you need to charge more money for your product, you want to do that as late as possible because every dollar extra is potentially the dollar that breaks the customer's back and makes them go, yeah, I know, but I can't afford that. I'm sorry. And they dip back. So a $399 console with Astrobot, and there's Astro's Playroom already installed on the console itself, or I think it was Astro's Playroom was the PlayStation 5 bundle-in game. So you've got Astro's Playroom, and then you've got Astrobot, the game of the year for 2024 at the Keeleys. So you've got 2 copies of Astrobot. That's a great element. But the smartest thing is, so far, I don't know anything, and I'm not going to say one way or the other, but if GTA GTA 6 is coming out this year. What's the better position to try and get as many consoles as you can into the country before the tariffs start applying to them and sell them as quickly as possible and sell the digital version of your console? Don't sell disc versions, because disc versions mean that people can buy games, but they just buy the disc and then they can sell that off. You buy digital, you're buying it and locking it to a platform, to a login that makes it harder for somebody to then leave that ecosystem, because then they're leaving money that they've invested in it where they can't play it elsewhere. Get those in the market, sell them cheap, get as many as you can sold before GTA 6 comes out, because then when it comes out, the customer has to buy GTA 6 digitally from your store. That is a very smart move. But that is also a move that is driven by the fact of you need more customers. You need more growth. You need more consoles. You need more people. And I think everybody knows that GTA 6 is going to... Okay, maybe not GTA 6 is... because I still think it is a little too early to consider it this way. Okay. GTA 4 did gangbuster numbers, and there was no real online to it. There was an online to the game, but it was more like people getting into a lobby back in the old Xbox 360 days. Then GTA 5 having the online mode that launched, I think it was 2 weeks after GTA 5 came out. That game has continued on and hit massive numbers of concurrent players and microtransaction spend and everything else. But GTA 5 came out in 2013. And throughout the years, we've had GTA 5 on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Then we had GTA 5 on the Xbox One and PS4. And then we had an updated version to those games that then went into the Series X, Series S, PS5. And it's continued to go on and on. But the game sales that have occurred at a larger sense have mostly been tied to microtransactions, and people buying copies of the game have generally double dipped across platforms. Like PS4 to PS5, there's one that's a double dip, because there wasn't an upgrade to it. It was you had to buy the game again. Then PS5, then with PS5, there's also people who then bought it onto PC. The sales numbers for it over that period of time, there have, and I'm pretty certain on this, actually, I'm pretty solid on it. There have been times where I have seen sales for games in the Xbox store where a copy of GTA 5 with one of the $2.5 million shark cards has been $30. The card itself, selling by itself, is $50, but you can get a copy of the game and that same shark card for $30 in a sale on the Xbox store. So what do? You buy the cheaper thing. You bought another copy of the game that you don't need because it's cheaper to buy that than it is to buy the shark card by itself. But that is then another game copy that they've sold. And we have another spam bot in the Twitch chat, and we report for spam. I'm still amazed that people bother trying to spam a a simple person on Twitch who is speaking to... I have one viewer, and it is probably just myself. It is probably just myself in the window that's come up. So I always laugh at that. But it's still. I think there might be this expectation that because GTA 5 has sold, you know, tens of millions of copies, and that it continues to make hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars a year in microtransactions and everything else. I believe that there is this expectation that that success will continue on. I don't doubt that there is going to be a great level of success for GTA 6. I do, however, wonder until we are certain on what it is that they are actually going to deliver, because I think it was a month or two before GTA 5 came out. That's when we actually found out about GTA Online. They did this cool little flyover video that showed the city and everything else expanding out, and that it would be, this is going to launch 2 weeks after the game comes out, and you will be able to play in an open world with everybody else and blah, blah, blah. But to pull everybody who currently plays in GTA Online and try to get them into the new product, that is a very big lift and shift. Even to this day, COD hasn't been able to actively make that work. There are the people who just prefer playing Call of Duty Warzone. And then there's the people who like playing Call of Duty Standard, like the competitive multiplayer matches. And there are some people you are not going to lift and shift from Call of Duty, the standard every year releases, into a Warzone, because they just go, I'm not interested in doing a battle royale. I just want to play competitive multiplayer against other players. There are going to be people who, until they know for certain, hey, OMG Turtles, we've got Monkey versus Tramps and OMG Turtles, my two favorite people. Well, two of my favorite people. There are many favorite people I have in the world. The monkey and the turtle are two. Probably the top two. Yep, my two favorite people in chat. So, in all honesty, until Silver Tongue Devil, no. That would be Mr. Chris Christopherson, sir. Silver Tongue Devil and I. Great song. Until we know more about GTA 6, and I think until some players are able to go, everything that I own in GTA Online for GTA 5 comes across to GTA 6 Online, how are you going to convince them? If everything doesn't come across, how are you going to convince them to stop playing here and go over there? The one thing that would potentially work in that manner would be a very particular purchase that Rockstar did a year or two ago, a year, 2 years, 3 years. The role-playing server extension that was done for the PC version of the game. If that is then part of GTA Online for GTA 6, you will have a lot of people go, oh, fuck yeah, into a new world, and people will be role-playing. It'll be like WoW when it first came out again. If you weren't there for World of Warcraft in 2004 on a role-playing server, it was a very weird place. It was weird to a level that I don't think I will ever experience or see happen again. People talking in ye olde English on American servers who didn't for OMG Turtles, I can just see them turning the servers off after a year. I do wonder whether there will be continued support for GTA 5 Online if things go past a year. Especially, there will be the people who are happy with what they've got there, or they can't afford a brand new console, they can't afford a Series X, Series S, or a PS5, or when it eventually comes out on PC, they're not equipped for that. I think there is that possibility that, yeah, they may kind of, when they can't lift and shift players across, they're just going to go, well, sorry, we've supported this game and we cannot put any more development talent on this. So we're shutting it off. Thanks very much for the fish. But then you probably pull a lot more people across by going, we will give you we will give you a copy of GTA 6 at like a 50% discount to try and bring them across. That may work, but it is also Take Two. And as much as people go, they are money driven. Yes, they are. Like any business out there, being honest, they are money driven. I would see the likelihood being that Strauss Zelnick understands that right now the consumers are a very fickle creature, and that I think as much as they believe that GTA 6 can deliver in spades, and I don't think that they're afraid of any wokeism bullshit, uh, they're not worried about people pushing back against the game. It used to be violent, it used to be this, it used to be that. No, uh, GTA has always been a satire of. It's been a satirical take on America in and of that moment, and in and of the location that they are displaying and showing. You look at the elements of GTA 4 in Liberty City, look at GTA 5 in Los Santos, and then look at GTA 6 in where they're showing in this allegory of Florida. It is very much a satire of those locations. However, there is a there is going to be a very vocal minority who push back and go, I'm used to these games being, violent or this or that. I don't think the game is going to suffer by any means from any of these kind of grifters or anything. Actually, I suppose grifters is probably a bit dismissive of a statement. Do you think it launches with the online? I can see it coming a few months after. I am not certain. I remember that GTA 5 had GTA Online came out 2 weeks after the launch of the game. But consider they would have had to have done all of their development effort, and they understand now so much better about the spin up for the online service, because when that first, I think it was the first 2 months pretty much of GTA Online, it was near impossible to stay inside a game for longer than about 10 or 15 minutes. If you were lucky to finish a match, that was insane. Trying to do free roam in the game where you were not kind of in your own solo world, like having somebody else join you, was near impossible. I I would imagine that they're going to try for a similar thing, that they'll go, they don't want to hold off having the online be too long after the game. I think they did that with GTA 5 because they wanted people to play the game. They wanted people to play through the story and be like, "Oh my god, this game is fucking amazing." And that 2 weeks is that period of time to play the game, get used to the game, and then be able to transition very quickly into the online. I think if they don't launch with the online, if it is a, we're going to wait a month, 2 months, that could potentially be a a very quick drop off, because there are some people who only want to play the game to get things to be able to then transition into the online, because that's where they want to play. They want to hang out with their mates in the world. They don't give a shit about the story of a guy and a girl uh, robbing convenience stores or anything. They don't care. And it's not because they don't care about single player games. It's just that they don't care about these stories. They want to make their own stories. And that's part of the live service game element. You either give people the ability to have a story and follow it through, or you let people make their stories. OMG Turtles. I can see the story not being a traditional single player, but have live service elements that keeps people occupied. The game is massive and coming on hot. They need time to fix post-release bugs. That is true. I I would be surprised if there's going to be live service elements for the single player game in and of itself, because they tend to be so very tightly scripted and defined with the single player. Like like you could always fuck around in the single player worlds. Like, what's the best way to put it? Like, you can just make the players in the single player world do whatever the hell you wanted, but then people started having more fun in just being able to do that with their own made character, and then they just transition that into the online. Instead of making Nico Bellic do it in GTA 4, you're instead doing it with your own custom character in GTA 5 online. Like, the online store is operational. You can go spend shark bucks on clothes and stuff in the story. Actually, that is a good point. That might be something that could be a interesting way to be able to bring the multiplayer style monetization into the single player game. And that is a very dirty way of putting it, but that is actually one of those elements where I think they are trying to find ways to be able to monetize the single player engagement in a game past the initial point of going, here's a specific expansion or thing. Much like, I suppose, what is it called? The My Player, the My Island for WWE 2K25. There's the My Island, your creator wrestler. There's the VC, virtual currency, that you use in NBA 2K25 and EAFC. All of those things, having that stuff to be able to additionally add to your own character, especially even in an offline mode, if you can take your player avatar from the offline area into the online area to be able to level up or build experience, or potentially even purchase clothes. That is a really good point. I could see that very much being a potential option. That is scary in a sense, because you'd hope, and to a degree, that, well, it's 2K, so the monetization is always going to be there. And I think they're just trying to find ways where they understand that there's... Here's the big thing I still don't understand about Sony, is that they're seeing the same numbers as everybody else in the market out there. They know that more people spend more money on microtransactions in games than they do on games itself, yet they don't have... They never do anything with it, because they believe that if you stay the course with full price games and everything else, that you're always going to come out on top, that people will always return to the single player experience. And a larger and larger percentage of the audience out there are not that interested in the single player experience. They want to play with their mates. They want to play online. They play to hang out. OMG Turtles. You can use the guns provided or pay 40 shark bucks to get a rocket launcher. There's tons of ways that you can get people to spend money in the story. That is true. Even... what was it I was playing recently? Far Cry 6. I recently jumped into that just before Monster Hunter Wilds came out. And while playing that, I was just like walking around in the in-game in the game map, just in the starting island where you are, and there's all of the weapons and equipment and bits and pieces, but it was, you can find, or you can get these specific you can get the locations for all of these chests to be able to get all of the upgrade materials to be able to upgrade your Supremo, that backpack thing that you that you use. You can find all of the stuff on these islands if you pay this, if you purchase this pack, which is premium currency to be able to find, and we will mark on the map all of these things. I get that. And I understand that some people, like the biggest thing is that to create temptation for purchase, you need to incentivize the idea of saving time, saving money, or saving effort. And being able to save money is time, because you could be doing something else with your time. And people don't ever have... It's actually one of my bugbears. Like, Turtles, you asked how I was with Monster Hunter. So I am going to just quickly and show you how long I have been playing Monster Hunter for. If you wanted my thoughts on the game, there it is. 81 hours in Monster Hunter. Now, I'm a pretty busy person. Shame away there. I'm a pretty busy person. And rookie numbers, fuck you. Like, we've had a cyclone, we've had power outages. I work full time every day of the week, except the weekends. And even then, on the weekends, taking dogs for the walk. We had cyclone through here, so we had days of interruption for power and preparing for the storms, and then everything else throughout it. I've still managed over a week and a half, nearly 2 weeks, to put 81 hours into a game. Now, granted, one, I don't have kids. Two, like, I'm capable of just sitting down and spending time. I can get to generally about 2 hours of gaming a night on nights where I'm streaming. Not really as much, but generally for a lot of the other days of the week, maybe 2 hours a night. So I'm on the higher end of people who play video games day to day while still managing a 40, 50 hour work week and everything else. So I'm one of the highly invested people, but I'm very rare when it comes to how a lot of people are generally. I don't know that many of the people who are working my sort of hours, who have kids or who have other commitments, would have spent this much time. The only people who would be spending this much time will generally be kids or teenagers or people who've just gotten out of high school or who have very few university classes. They're the people who are going to be spending the most time in GTA 6 when it comes out, because everyone else, as much as we go, oh my God, it's GTA, I'm really excited, not many people are going to be taking a week off work to play it, are they? It's like that's really not going to happen. And even if they do, it may be a 2 or 3 day long weekend. That's not going to lead to that's also going to have kids, and that's going to have family, and that's going to have OMG Turtles. I don't have time to run a second life. I'm still trying to catch up to my main one. And Monkey vs. Tramps, gaming is an evening activity due to working kids. Now, see, that's one of the aspects of it, is that there is a level of responsibility that comes with the people who actively are able to fund and purchase a lot of things. We have more money than we have time. So a lot of time saving ends up being one of those elements of a way to be able to cut down on the faff that exists in games by asking for a buck or two here or there to be able to improve things. I understand why Far Cry did it, and I get that, but I'm not going to pay a couple of bucks. I'm just going to go, well, I'm just going to engage with the game on my terms. If you bore me, if I then have to spend time faffing about to find these bits and pieces, to find the equipment and everything else, I'm not coming across it in the general gameplay, then I'm going to go, well, I now need to grind shit. If I wanted to grind shit, I'd go and play WoW, and then I will switch off a game and walk away from it. The moment that you do not respect a player's time is the moment that you lose it. It is disengaged. Where some of the risk I think will come for GTA 6 is that if there is the element of the multiplayer doesn't launch with the game, I think you're going to have a very quick disengagement until such point that the online kicks in. But even then, I think there will be much more, there will be less take up because you're not going to have GTA 6 online available on an Xbox One or a PS4. It's only going to be PS5 and Series X, Series S. Or, and this is just an idea, we shall see whether it happens or not, but I am wondering whether it will be taken on. I wonder if, like, a few people have kind of kicked around the idea of, oh, wouldn't it be funny if Xbox put it on the Game Pass? Which, yeah, that'd be funny. It'd probably cost like $1.5 billion to do, but not to put it onto Game Pass, but to put the game as one of the buy-to-play games through Xbox Cloud streaming. What if you could play OMG, sorry, OMG Turtles. Trump's trumping right now. If you haven't upgraded yet, you're second guessing your declaration to upgrade to GTA 6 right now. Yes, I did talk about that a little earlier with the PlayStation 5s. Like Sony spending, bringing in a shitload of stock of PS5 Slim Digitals to the US right now. And I think it was in the Xbox Era Discord. I think someone else did post it in the Xbox 2 Discord, that there is currently a planned, or you can pre-order the promotional pricing that they're going to have for the PS5 Digital Slim at $399 US, and it comes with Astrobot, which comes pre-installed on the console. That is just the PS5 standard. And then there's Astrobot 2024, the game of the year from the Keeleys, and that's in the box as well for the standard flat price of $399. The idea being, everybody's going, why? Like, if you're going to have more, if you're going to have the tariff situation come up, wouldn't you just ask people to pay a little bit more and just bring the stock in normally? They want to front load the stock, get it into the country, and before all of the tariffs hit, because Sony are going to have to eat the tariff cost. They are going to have to pass that on to their customers. OMG Turtles, but even that may not be enough if they put the country in a recession. And I can't see GTA 6 being big in China, so there's too big in markets out of the race. That is true, especially for the content of GTA. That is going to be very hard to get past the censorship in China. Now, I can't speak about the specific scenario in which I will refer to, but I have seen and heard the correspondence of a game that was submitted to China from a developer, and the kind of back and forth when it came to certain topics. Now, this game didn't have anywhere near the level of satire or kind of what would be considered offensive content, but there were cultural things that do not fly well in China with people's sexual orientation and depictions of gay and lesbian relationships. Oh, having to go back to work. Thank you very much, Turtles. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Um, but with that game, when it was submitted, the the time spent was approximately 3 to 4 months of back and forth between a translation group in a country and the censorship group in, or the board in a sense, in China, and the back and forth was of trying to work out what they could do with this specific instance, because it was part of an element of the game. If they were to remove it, then the game would not make sense in a line of logic for the story. So it was a consistent back and forth. But even for some of the elements in the game, jokes or tongue-in-cheek references weren't understood because they don't translate well. I don't think GTA 6 is going to be big in China regardless of anything. I don't think that there is much that can be done for that. But it's also going to be the CCP. Like, it is their country, that it is the way they are. I'm not going to speak against them and go, you are suppressing people and thought. Like, you can have your opinions. That's their country. That's the way they exist. That's the way they are. It is a completely different culture. Like, and unless you live in part of it, as part of it, it's hard to kind of judge it when you're existing in a completely different vacuum outside of it. Yeah, I don't know. I almost think the entirety of the kind of GTA push will be interesting. However, it almost feels like unless there is a way in which more people are going to be able to play the game without having to buy one of the next gen consoles, if you're going to be pushing people to spend $500 or $400, so $399 for a console at cheapest, plus $100 for the game, roughly, then yeah, you're looking at $500. $500 for one game. Back in 2005, 2006, 2007, even up to 2010, yeah. But that was the way we always did things. Nowadays, you don't need to pay for a console to play most of the games that most people or most kids in a playground are going to be going, hey, you should play this thing. You can play it on your phone. Hey, Monkey versus Tramps, you've got a meeting to attend. My poor sir, I hope that you handle it. I hope that you handle your meeting okay and that nothing goes terribly wrong. Thank you very much for dropping by as well, and I appreciate you appearing alongside OMG Turtles, my two favorite people. I hope you have a great meeting. I'm going to continue rambling for a little bit longer, so you go attend your meeting. But thank you very much, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. So on everything, when looking further forward, even if the biggest entertainment products or the sequel to one of the biggest entertainment products of the last 15 years is coming out with a sequel, but as much as there's 56, 60 something million PlayStation 5s out there, there is approximately 30 million something Xbox consoles out there. And of that, approximately 90 million total units, but probably overlapped 50 million PlayStations and 30 million Xboxes. Of those, so I would say, okay, if there's 60 million PlayStation 5s out there, there's probably, say, 10 million people who have Xboxes who also have a PlayStation. So 50 million from there, plus that 30 million, we overlap that. So 50, 80 million total people. I don't think 80 million people are going to buy GTA 5 or GTA 6, sorry. GTA 5 plus 1. I don't think all of those people are going to buy a copy of GTA 5. I don't also think that you are going to have millions upon millions of people then buy consoles to be able to play GTA 5 or 6. Jesus Christ. GTA 5 plus 1, GTA 6. I don't think you can have much roll on with that. So the people who are more than likely to play it are the people who've already purchased those consoles. But the people who would consider it are also then going to be comparing it and pushing it against the very thing of going, well, yeah, GTA 6 would be fun to play. It looks cool. But can I play it on my phone? Can I play it on my Xbox at home? I've got a PS4. Oh, it's PS5? Oh, man, I don't want to buy that. Like, that's 500, $600. Man, you know, I'm trying to buy a car. I'm in university. I'm looking for a job. Like, rent is tough. These are the sorts of things where I think potentially there might be the cloud solution that I think Sony may stick their nose into this. And that is potentially where I think once we know what GTA is going to, pardon me, once we know what GTA 6 is going to be, when it's coming out, and what it is exactly going to offer at that purchase price, and at that time, if online is going to be a couple of weeks down the line, a couple of months down the line, or whether it's going to be day and date. When we know that, and we potentially know whether there's options to be able to buy it and stream it, or play it with some other further options, or that a PC version is coming 6 months down the line or a year down the line, or whatever the case may be. Once we know those things, that I think will tell us very much about what's going to happen with potentially console sales and console numbers and everything else. So that's kind of where my initial thought kind of goes to. So that I finally managed to get to the end of my thoughts. It only took me most of the fucking night. But that's kind of it. Like, that's where everything for me is kind of laid out. And I've kind of enjoyed just getting back into it and just having a bit of a natter. I am thinking, however, for the stream kind of layouts in the weeks ahead, it's actually going to be I'm going to be updating it on Twitch, although not many people watch through Twitch, so I'm almost tempted to just kind of like leave the Twitch channel and just let it flatten out, because there's very few people who come through there. Mishkin does. But it's an additional effort where when I'm on Twitch, I can't show YouTube chat over here, like over that direction there, that spot there. I normally have the chat up there so that those things could also be up on the screen and other people could see what's being said, but you can't show YouTube chat on Twitch. So I'm honestly thinking that what we might do is just finish out Twitch and leave it as basically a backup option for other bits and pieces. But I'm actually thinking of, over the next couple of weeks, changing up some of the design for this and changing the streaming days to basically be the Wednesdays like today, where it's more like a bit of gameplay, bit of this, bit of that. And then changing... going back from like 3 days a week to 2 days a week, but doing this being a more kind of like hour and a half, 2 hours, and then doing an episode on Saturday mornings, which would be after Rand and Jez do the Xbox 2 podcast, and almost kind of between there's Xbox 2. Generally from my time in Australia, from about 6, 7 a.m. and it goes through till about 10. And then there's kind of this period of time between like 10 to about 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then if Jesse from Xbox Era is doing a, a gaming session or a coffee with Kebasa, then that's when he'd do it, is probably from around 2 o'clock onwards. So I'm thinking that little spot there might be a good little chill area where I can just kind of do my thing, but also be a bit more relaxed and have been up, heard some of the news and discussions, the way people are talking about things. Because that tends to be a really good point, and that also starts my mind going on, oh, okay, this interesting news and these bits and pieces. It gives me something to kind of chew on and then be able to verbalize without needing to kind of read through things at the same time. And then being able to kind of roll straight into if Xbox Era is streaming, then be able to kind of go, hey, these guys are great. Point people over that direction. So that will be me for the night. As you can see, we are alive. We survived a hurricane or cyclone, and yeah, it was actually pretty fine. I'm just ultimately, with all of the power outages and everything else, I'm kind of glad I didn't decide to stream throughout it, because it was also very windy. So I think even for where I stream from at my place, it would have been so fucking noisy. So I'm very glad I chose not to. But thank you very much. Glad to be back. I'll be back on Saturday morning, Australia time. So I believe it will be, I think it's afternoon in the US. So we'll see how that goes. But thank you very much. I hope you all have a great rest of the day. And I appreciate everybody who dropped by. So we had Monkey vs. Tramps and OMG Turtles. Thank you both very much for stopping by. And I'm glad that you guys are responsible enough that you're able to head off and be like, okay, I've got to go work. I don't want anybody to, avoid any responsibility by hanging out here with me. But thank you very much. Hope you all have a great rest of the day. Catch you in the next stream.